when we talk about the next 5 years and we talk about where I see myself as an artist in the next 5 years, I will be 28 then. And I see myself as a leader. I'm not necessarily focused on right now where I see conversations in theater or conversations in interdisciplinary performance art or cinema. I'm not thinking about where we are right now. I'm thinking about where we will be and all the things that will happen. And that's not for the purposes of erasing the very dire circumstance in which we find ourselves, right? We will, of course, by that time, may or may not be in still in a Trump presidency or in a Trump regime, right? All these various things that could or could not have happened by then, which would drastically change um, prospects, right? When we talk about difficulties, there are a lot of things that could happen for people of color, for artists, not only for just for poor Americans, which I happen to be of all three. And in light of that, I, in my own artistic journey, have begun now forming things which have this kind of scope. I noticed that there are a lot of institutions, there are a lot of people who back these institutions who did not necessarily have my best artistic interests at heart, right? And because they are focused immediately on what is able to be sold now, and I'm focused on what is able to be sold, what will be valuable to people here in the now, but which I think generally the conversation around rate, phenotype and race, right, or the economy is centered upon. Um, for that reason, right now I'm starting my own not anti-capitalist Black film collective. I am working with a lot of my peers and a lot of people who are much older, well, not much, like 10 years older than me, to create art which will foster the conversations and the the becoming of a new identity, which I feel was not only lacking in other people's lives, but in my own. Right, that's how I knew that something was missing. That in this country, in this city, and really particularly like in certain boroughs, there are no places where young poor folk can go to gather. There's no places where young poor folk can have voices, even with one another, outside of the realms of social media. And I claim, and I very much intend on working with people who are like me from the ground up to create situations in which that can be changed. And so, and so, you know, I want to move beyond the narrative of suffering and persevering and overcoming and into one of abundance and one of thriving, one where we are thinking about what comes next after we've won, because it's at this point in my mind not a question of whether or not we will win. It's about when we do, and will we be ready then.